Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Second Step Child Protection Unit, working together to keep kids safe. As I mentioned in our sound check, my name is Jackie, and I will be your host for today's webinar. And we're so very glad that you are here with us, and we really look forward to spending about the next hour or so with you today. Before we get started, and I pass it off to our presenter, I want to give you a look at today's agenda. We will begin with introductions and a little bit about Committee for Children and the work that we do. We'll go through the Second Step Child Protection Unit and its components, showing some video examples of the program, and really talk about how it's taught and all of the resources that are available. And we'll end our time together with the resources we created to support educators and families during the unprecedented and unusual time of the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, we'll have time for question and answers. So please feel free to send me your questions and comments in the chat box, and I will do my best to answer them and provide relevant links along the way. So please welcome our presenter, Neil Robbins, who will take it away from here.
Thanks, Jackie, and thank you everybody for coming to the presentation today. Happy Thanksgiving. At least we're a couple days early, but happy Thanksgiving. This morning I was speaking with my granddaughter, and I was amazed at her resilience in the face of all that COVID has robbed her of. And believe me, she feels it's robbed her. School friends, play dates, soccer games, Oma and Opa visits. I say that because they're living in Europe, and they call us Oma and Opa. At 7 years old, she thinks that she's had it rough. And I thank God that she feels that way and that she really has no idea of some of the real challenges that are going on in life, including what, is happening or what we're talking about today, child protection. Like many of you, I remember simpler times. Maybe that's because, a good percent of us are fortunate. But I can tell you I'm the first member of my family to go to college. Not only go to college, but graduate from college. I spent 4 years in the Navy as a naval officer. I've worked in the healthcare field, and I spent the last 10 years in K-12 education technology. I've always wanted to serve and make a difference, and I helped educators assess their kids, both formatively and summatively. I helped administrators get a clear picture of what their student challenges were from a whole child perspective, whether it was, attendance, behavior, grades, test scores, or whatever, but doing those deep data dives. And through all those years, I can tell you that we fell short in actually making a difference in kids' lives and identifying who those students were, what exactly that meant to them. So you told us, or you told me, that you wanted to help and achieve, really reaching and inspiring kids to succeed, not just identifying who they were. So when I came together with Committee for Children, it was like an oh wow moment. We're actually going to make a difference here. So Committee for Children is a nonprofit based out of Seattle. It has a mission to foster the safety and well-being of children through social emotional learning. We were pioneers in leading the field. We've been doing this a long time. We have a very comprehensive approach using solid research and connections to experts in the field to bring resources to schools and districts that make a difference in the lives of students, schools, and communities. We're also leaders in advocacy, and you'll see on our advocacy page at Committee for Children, cfchildren.org, that we do a lot of legislating working with legislators at both the state and federal level. We advocate for social emotional learning, bullying prevention, child protection, the whole gamut. So if you are interested in further advocacy efforts, go to cfchildren.org and look at our advocacy page. You'll see quite the extensive things. Some of them are very state specific, but we certainly would want you to participate in that. So Committee for Children is really best known for its Second Step program, family programs of early learning, elementary and middle school that represent a holistic approach to building more supportive communities for every child through social emotional learning, which includes child protection and the bullying prevention. As you can see in this particular graphic, we have expanded our programming to include our out of school time. That includes programming for K through 5. We launched that in August. And then we'll be launching soon next year our social emotional learning for adults. And I'll touch more upon that as we get further into my program. But suffice it to say, there's some very good information for you there. If you'd like to learn anything more about any of the other programs, whether it's K through 5, middle school, social emotional learning for adults, out of school time or whatever, just visit the same page that you registered for this particular webinar, and there'll be opportunities to sign up and or look at some pre-recorded sessions. I mentioned earlier that we've been doing this a long time, over 40 years. We started out at the University of Washington with some researchers who wanted to understand better and how to combat child sexual predators. And through that research led to a safe touching program that schools were in demand for to help kids prevent what was going on out there. So through all the years that moved from safe touching to our suite of second step programs to what we're talking about today. But through it all, it's been you. You are the educators. You are the ones who are seeing these kids, making a difference in their lives. So on behalf of Committee for Children, I want to thank you for all your efforts. We're your partner, yes, but you are the ones who actually do the work. So why don't I go ahead and dive on into this. The Child Protection Unit is a personal safety and child abuse prevention curriculum for early learners through grade 5. It's based on current research and many years of practice from our previous program, talking about touching. For those of you who are familiar, we took the best of that Talking About Touching program and then over time showed significant gains in children's development of personal safety skills and incorporated these concepts and strategies into our Child Protection Unit. I'll share more about that program and its components as we go through the presentation. But first, I want to show you a video. It kind of brings it all together and says probably better than I can what it is we're trying to accomplish here with our Child Protection Unit. This video would also be helpful in helping staff, school, and district leaders to understand the incidence of child abuse and ways to keep kids safe. So feel free to share it with your staff.
Hi moms, hi dads, and everyone who cares about children. We've got some news about our kids, and it's not pretty. 1 out of 4 girls and 1 out of 20 boys will be sexually abused by the time they're 18. We're talking about our kids, our daughters, sons, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, and their friends. And there's something else you should know. 90% of child sexual abuse is committed by someone the child knows, like a neighbor, stepfather, brother, cousin, clergy, or coach. How does it happen? Abusers target kids and parents. First, they gain everyone's trust, then they slowly begin the abuse. When abusers cross the line, they tell the kids not to tell anyone. Shh, this is our secret. It's hard for kids to understand what's happening, and it's hard to tell on someone they know. So kids often don't say anything. If we don't find out, and if these abused kids don't get help, their lives turn upside down. They may become depressed or drop out of school, and they're more likely to abuse alcohol or drugs. Wait a minute, is this what we want for our children? No. So what exactly can we do? Talk to our kids, so they'll tell us if something questionable ever happens. It might feel difficult or uncomfortable to have these conversations, but there are ways to do it. We start when they're young. We explain what their private body parts are and that no one can touch them. We tell kids to tell us if someone tries. No secrets. And as they grow, we make sure they know they can talk to us, so we can help them recognize if someone crosses the line. We talk at home, at school, and with everyone who cares about kids, until talking about preventing sexual abuse isn't a big deal. It becomes as natural as wear a helmet. It's just how we talk to keep kids safe. Guess what happens next? Our children can grow up to be the best they can be. We can all work together to protect our kids from sexual abuse if we talk and listen.
Okay, that kind of brings it home, for me at least. I can tell you that when I started with Committee for Children, I was blissfully ignorant, but it wasn't long after I started with Committee for Children that two of my adult friends, female friends who are very successful in life, revealed to me that they had certain challenges when they were kids, and that there are often triggers that catch them when they least expect it. It's heart-wrenching, when you hear these stories, and that you and I have this opportunity to avoid some of the things that they went through. But we all know somebody. We just may not know we know somebody. Anyway, I think that video kind of brings out why we need to be vigilant. So that obviously makes it clear that school staff play a key role in profound ways that can be critical. They see students every day. They can spot changes in behavior. They know the students really well and may see the indicators of maltreatment. Often, these people are trusted: the bus driver, the cafeteria, the student aide, whatever. Every adult in the school building is somebody to look up to, and could be the person that is the first person that a child talks to. So we all need to be very, very ready for that moment. So next, I'd like to share with you a video that highlights how important it is to students that staff notice their behavior and try to understand where it is they're coming from using a trauma-informed lens.
When I was young, the abuse impacted me in the ways that I was not able to sleep at night. I had nightmares, flashbacks. I was unable to look at anyone in the eye. I was unable to trust anyone. I acted out a lot, having tantrums and a very bad temper. I just didn't want to be around anyone, or just around in general. I didn't want to be here. And I would not show up to class. I wouldn't do my homework, which was funny because when they would talk to me one-on-one, I know they could see how smart I was. You just see these certain kids that stand out, these certain kids that act out, and I acted out. It was like a cry for help. It wasn't hidden, it was out there, and I was just waiting for someone to realize I was hurting.
Those kinds of stories just really get a hold of me, and I apologize, but that's important. It's important for all of us. And that's why I say staff training, that we're going to be spending a lot of time on staff training, and that you should share that video as a reason that staff training is so important. So thinking of the various components of keeping kids safe and nurturing students who may be experiencing abuse, many states have adopted a law to better protect children, and called Aaron's Law, or some similar. You might have a different name. Most states have adopted Aaron's Law, which requires that schools address child sexual abuse prevention using these four elements: policies and procedures, staff training, student lessons, and family education. Even if your state has not adopted Aaron's Law, these components are important for a comprehensive practice to create a safe and school environment for your students. The most important in the work of child abuse prevention happens before we teach skills to students, by training staff. So we've designed a robust training that will prepare staff beyond a mandated reporter training to address child abuse prevention in their schools. So school staff are required by law to report suspected cases of abuse or neglect. But many times, that training provided leaves it at that, reporting. Our training, included for free with the program, helps staff to know what to do before and after a disclosure, and how to teach their students these important safety skills. So the online training for staff includes 3 online training modules. They're 60 to 90 minutes each. The training is interactive and engaging and easy for staff to do at a time when it is convenient for them. Very important. The first module of the training helps school leaders assess their current child protection policies, procedures, and practices, and then begins to develop a comprehensive child protection strategy in line with current research and best practices. Having a comprehensive child protection strategy helps protect children from maltreatment at school in the form of educator sexual misconduct or other forms of abuse, and it helps protect children outside of school by ensuring that all adults are trained to recognize and report abuse, that families are encouraged to talk to their children about child sexual abuse, and that all children are taught self-protection skills via student lessons. So these are the resources that are available to staff as they go through the training. You got an action plan template, policies and procedures, best practices, a staff observation tool, and of course, much more. The second module, the online training, uses what we call the 3 R's. The first R is to prepare all staff to recognize common indicators of child abuse and neglect seen in children, as well as to recognize staff violations of child protection policies. Secondly, staff are also prepared to reframe those behaviors and to respond in a supportive way to a child who discloses abuse or neglect. Finally, staff are prepared to report child abuse or neglect, as well as violations of child protection policies, and according to their school's procedures. One of the benefits of this training is that all staff throughout the building or school learn the same language, understand the same indicators, definitions, and best practices across grade levels. So to illustrate this in a way that staff can relate to the 3 R's of child protection, the training goes through 6 realistic scenario-based interactions. The stories in each scenario explore the topics of physical and sexual abuse, neglect, and educator misconduct. Staff are prompted to answer questions and test their knowledge throughout the training to keep it engaging and reinforcing their learning. As in Module 1, throughout the course of Module 2, school and staff are introduced to the resources and tools they can use to support their child protection efforts. So these are the tools and resources that they have: indicators of abuse and neglect. There's a fact sheet on sexual misconduct, responding to behaviors, and then creating a safe and supportive classroom. Once the staff are trained to recognize, respond, and take reports, students will learn important skills to help them stay safe. Module 3 is designed for staff who will be teaching the student lessons. In this module, staff learn about overcoming any discomfort with teaching this content, how to create a safe and supportive learning environment, child protection lesson content and format, how to reinforce lesson skills and concepts, and how to engage families. There's the student lessons, and through the student lessons, children learn specific self-protection skills. The lessons build on the foundation of assertiveness, empathy, emotion management, problem solving, and friendship skills that are taught in the core second step program. The lesson content encourages help-seeking behavior and positive student norms by teaching students to recognize, report, and refuse unsafe or abusive situations, including sexual abuse. So Module 3 also includes special attention to helping staff feel comfortable with a touchy topic themselves, enabling and empowering them to focus the program and strategies on safety and versus sexuality. This is common concern amongst adults throughout the United States that we not be a sex education program. This is a safety program. So we've made sure to intentionally provide guidance in that particular area for your staff and for your families. So let's move on into the second step CPU lessons. Here's a look at the lesson topics. We provide easy to follow, scripted lessons that teach children personal safety skills using clear, rules-based, and age-appropriate content. Ways to stay safe. Always ask first rule. Safe and unsafe touches. The touching rule. Practicing staying safe. Reviewing safety skills. A quick note on the second step core program. Early learning, daily activities each take about 5 to 7 minutes. The K through lessons are taught once per week and each take approximately 20 to 35 minutes to teach. So now I'm going to play a video here that's kind of gives you one of the simple little lessons that are done in the program. It's a real short one, only about 30 seconds, but it kind of one of the things that you will be using in your teaching.
3 ways to stay safe.
as you can see, we're not afraid to be upbeat with the lesson content for the kids, because it shouldn't be something that they should be scared of ahead of time. And when they learn safe touching, it should be something that should be normally that they feel regular about. So here's an example of the never, never rules that are incorporated into the lessons. Things like never ride in a car without a seatbelt, never ride a bike without a helmet. These help students to see safe touching as just another area of personal safety. So next, I'd like to show you a video of a lesson actually in play here. So let me go ahead and cue this one up.
Remember that private body parts are the parts that are covered up by your bathing suit, okay? Is this a private body part? No. Is this a private body part? Is this a private body part? No. How about this? Is this a private body part? Is this a private body part? No. How about, is this a private body part? Yeah. And how about for girls? Just for girls. Is this a private body part? Yeah.
Hello, puppy. Why are you so excited? I found a bottle of candy in the bathroom drawer at home. Today, I'm gonna eat some. I don't think people usually keep candy in the bathroom. Is it safe for Puppy to eat something without asking?
No.
No. The rule is always ask first. What's the rule?
Always ask first.
Recognize. Does this break a touching rule? Yes. Does this break the never keep secrets rule? Yes. Refuse. Say words that mean no. What could we say? I'm going to call on a few students to practice.
No, I do not like that. Can you please stop?
Thank you, Ava.
I don't like you touching me.
Okay, this time I want you to do it again, but stronger, loud voice, okay? Okay,
No, I do not want you touching me.
great. If you saw something that you agreed with, clap 2 times. Great.
So you can see that the lessons are very explicit, that you can follow along with the script, and that the kids really do like the content. They really like the ability, the interaction with the adults and everything. It's a safe way to do this. They feel very comfortable about it, so you should too. So the available resources. In the program, you're going to have your teaching and implementation tools, your plenty of video lessons, example demos, Spanish translations. You're going to have your staff training resources, streaming media, and then tools to engage families. Very important that we engage families in this whole process. Toward that end, just like with any curriculum or program initiative in your schools, we know it's important to bring families in understanding of what is going on with their children and their learning. This is especially true with a subject as sensitive as child sexual abuse. So we've created a comprehensive suite of parent materials to help keep parents informed and alleviate their anxiety. Lessons and videos help explain the program and discuss adults' role in keeping kids safe. And those take-home activities, they help reinforce the skills students learn in their schools. The Child Protection Unit includes grade-specific family letters that provide an overview of the topics and skills students will be learning and include an activation key to unlock family resources online at secondstep.org. Home links or homework assignments students work with their parents to complete that correspond to each lesson and reinforce the skills and concepts at home. Home links can be copied from the student lesson notebook and sent home and accessed as PDFs on secondstep.org. The family section of Child Protection Unit pages on secondstep.org provide families with information about what their children are learning and why it's important in the families. In the family section, parents and caregivers will also find a series of short, compelling media pieces that teach them about child sexual abuse and reduce their anxiety about talking about this subject with their kids. Obviously, we have some interesting times here. In addition to COVID, we've had protests in the street. We've had a national election that has been very rancorous. There's a lot to be stressed about. So we know this is a stressful time for all people involved, students, families, and educators. Concerns about the short and long-term impacts of COVID for students and schools are growing. So we've compiled created some resources you can use to help young people learn the social emotional skills they need to get through these challenging events and cope with trying times. First is our dedicated support page, secondstep.org/COVID-19 support. This page has been up now. We put it up shortly after COVID took over or began, and we've learned a lot over the last 7-8 months. This page has gotten more and more informed. It's gotten more professional, polished. It's easier for you to use. It's easier for you to share out your resources. So if you haven't visited in a while, please go back to that page. Just about everything that you need to be an effective educator during these trying times is there. It's back to school resources in the form of remote, hybrid, and in-person learning supports, online professional learning for educators, live webinars, copyright permissions, live streaming and recorded lessons. We've also provided links to some additional free resources to help support educators, children, and families. I'm going to share a few of those on the next few slides. As we continue to monitor this ever-changing situation, just expect that we will continue to update the COVID-19 page. That is our main avenue for making sure that we keep you up to speed. So here's some things that you can download. Implementation guides based on whatever age group that you're working with, early learning, K through 5 elementary. You've got middle school in there. So you can download those, get advice on how to prioritize your content, everything. There are new units of instruction designed to meet the needs of students returning to school after extended closures. So we've got our in-person community building, what we call a rebuilding guide. No matter the strength of your school community before last March, it will almost certainly require thoughtful, intentional effort to rebuild in the wake of the school closures. Teaching remotely, we've got you covered. Teaching in a combined hybrid on-site remote environment, we've got you covered. But if you're back into on-site at any stage, the rebuilding guide will help you make that transition, recommending how to conduct your lessons going forward, where to stop your remote lessons, where to start your on-site lessons. We've thought it all through. We've done that because you have shared with us what your challenges were as people have attempted to jump back into on-site lessons and then been forced back out, back in, that kind of thing. That's basically level setting. All of them are very simple, straightforward lessons, no media. They'll be created with hybrid learning in mind, which means with COVID-19 safety measures in mind, whole class discussions, individual reflections, partner and small group work will be limited. So as I mentioned earlier, we have our upcoming Social Emotional Learning for Adults program that will launch some point in 2021, probably in the spring. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, however, we have released our Resilience During Crisis module early as a field test and a way to support educators during this difficult time. This is really designed to strengthen leadership and staff knowledge about social emotional learning and deepen their own social emotional skills. And I think of this as becoming kind of enlightened to our own awareness and our own understanding, how we can help kids. And if we haven't really dealt with our own issues, how can we best respond to our kids? So that access right now is free. For the resilience module, it focuses on self-care, care for each other, and student care. It is a chance to provide feedback and help make this program better. So if you can give us feedback on what you experience, please do so. It's open to the public. Anybody can get on here and do this resilience module with a caveat. It's available till December 31st. At that point, we need to stop all feedback and then prepare for the actual release of the program. So if you want to, please share this with all adults in your school and make sure that they get started, get it done before end of December. For more information, go to our COVID-19 page or go to secondstep-SEL for adults-resilience.org. And I'm sure that Jackie will put that website in the chat box for you. We're pretty excited about the program, needless to say. Many of you might be looking for resources to address racism for your students and your programs, and I apologize for not addressing this earlier. It's not something I usually address when talking about child protection, but now that I think about it, I probably should be. You and your kids have seen protests in the wake of George Floyd and other deadly police encounters. Emotions are running high. You don't know what your kids are thinking. I dare say we are very much remain far from our aspiration that all men are created equal, at least in some people's eyes. So at Committee for Children, we are committed to addressing racial injustice and helping you drive real change in your school communities. We also recognize that we're not experts in anti-racism pedagogy, nor does the Second Step curriculum is it designed to be that resource. That being said, we've compiled a collection of free resources on secondstep.org that will help you implement social emotional learning in a way that builds on students' cultural assets, critically examines systems of power, and develops better ways of teaching, learning, and being. On this page, we feel confident in the resources selected from a few organizations that are experts in this area. All are free. In addition, we've created an alignment chart in partnership with Teaching Tolerance. This chart features a curated set of teaching tolerance lessons that are aligned to Second Step Elementary and Second Step Middle School, as well as the CASEL Core SEL competencies. We recommend teaching these lessons in tandem with your Second Step implementation to incorporate diversity, equity, and social justice into your classroom's SEL plan. By the way, I think you'll find plenty of content to round out lots of class discussions. It's thoughtfully organized by grade and by subject. And in fact, in my opinion, Teaching Tolerance is the right resource for our times. You can find everything you need by visiting secondstep.org/antiracism and bias resources to learn more. So I mentioned earlier that there were some additional resources, and I want to do this before we finish up. First, we have our Imagine Neighborhood podcast. It's an innovative way to help kids aged 4 through 9, and their families to work through some of the big feelings, the big things that are happening in their little lives. We give them engaging songs, games, interactive and timely content. Season 1 and Season 2 are out. We're well underway with Season 2. A lot of Season 2 is very cognizant and takes into account what's going on with COVID, with racism, everything else like that. So very timely. Next, we have our mindfulness resources called Mind Yeti. There are 15 free sessions available on YouTube. We used to sell this, and it was very well received, but the resources it took to run this separately from all of our core concepts and everything was a bit too much for us, but we've managed to retain those 15. They're short, they're 5-minute, and you can just relax. I can say that kids love the ability to just kind of decompress. So do adults. We do this in our own work here at Committee for Children. I highly recommend that you share this with your teachers and use it in classrooms. We also have our Captain Compassion bullying prevention resources available year-round. This is award-winning. You'll see this mentioned in many sources via the news or whatever, but obviously during Bullying Prevention Month, it was very key, but these resources are meant to be used throughout the year. There's plenty of content in there that you can share with your kids and your families. And then lastly is our Hot Chocolate Talk website. It's a research-based guide to help families and educators talk to children about child abuse and child sexual abuse. These conversations can be hard, especially for parents, but they can be much easier with our guidance. We encourage you to share this with your parents, share this site with them and their kids. Pour a cup of cocoa, sit down and have a conversation. By the time you're finished with that cup of cocoa, with the resources you got there, you've taken on a subject that might have been uncomfortable in the past. You've taken it and made it very easy, and anything with a cup of cocoa is easy, is comfortable. Our last resource that I'd like to share with you is our Second Step Facebook community. This is a robust community. There are thousands of your peers on here sharing how they're doing lessons in Google Classroom, sharing how they're using Canvas. What are their challenges when they're trying to do this lesson from grade 4, unit 3? They're talking about it. They're sharing. They're a lot of back and forth. You can pose your questions and get answers, or you can go on there and provide answers to other people. But amazing how thousands of people come together. We don't necessarily run it, but we do share content on there, and we do answer some of the questions that don't immediately get answered. So as we finish our time together, I want to show you one last video from the program itself. And that's a preview of our feature film used in grades 1 through 3 at the end of the program called David Speaks Up. Let me go ahead and cue that up here.
I wish I could report something. David, we're your friends. What's wrong?
Hey, buddy, cheer up. Uncle Terry's taking you to the Eagles game tonight, remember?
Yeah. I don't like playing with Marcus and Ryan. They're always pushing and tripping people, and I don't like it. Sometimes they play a little bit too rough.
Remember, this is our secret.
It's just a homework problem. It makes me kind of mad that he won't stop, even when we tell him to.
I'm your favorite uncle, aren't I?
The way you touch me is wrong. If something is unsafe, you have to report it. Don't keep it a secret.
You know that I'm here to listen if you ever want to talk about anything.
What if they get mad? What if they don't believe me? He's my uncle. He's a grown-up. I think we should get help by reporting it to a grown-up. There is something I need to talk about. Sorry, Mrs. Sansa. That's really nice, but we have to ask our parents first.
I understand.
He said he was proud of me for telling them. See ya!
Remember, you're playing today.
Yep.
That's just a short snippet of the full video, but it gives you an idea of how easy to understand and relatable the program content is for students. They'll get it. So now would be a really good time for you to throw your questions in there. I apologize, I've not watched the Q&A box, the chat box or anything. I've kind of focused on talking to you. But Jackie, any questions that we can answer for the crowd?
Yeah, we have a few. So, is it necessary to teach all 4 lessons per grade level, or can some adjustments be made?
While we always recognize that reality intrudes on life, it really is based on the research that if you teach all 4 lessons in that order, that the kids will get the most from it. It'll build on it. It'll build on the social emotional learning concepts in second step. It makes a huge difference if you can get through all 4 lessons. So that's my recommendation, is that you stick to the program.
Perfect. This one's very specific to you, actually. Does this unit meet the needs of Washington State's new sex ed law?
Okay, I've had this question in the past. The law was really written to accomplish certain things. We tried, our advocacy person worked with the state on Prop 90 and tried to steer certain areas to make sure that the program was, more about sexual predators and addressing sexual abuse rather than sex education. However, having said that, Prop 90 is more than just addressing sexual abuse. So it's not going to one-to-one answer the program. Having said that, there are colleagues, some of your peers out there, who are using our child protection unit in conjunction with some other materials in order to meet all the criteria of Prop 90. So the answer is no, but you're going to do what you need to do in order to make that happen. But I would think that really the gist of what we want to get out to everybody is to protect our kids, make them safe, help them grow up in a kinder world. That is the most important thing that we can do. And yeah, you're going to have some additional things in order to meet Prop 90.
Thank you. Quite a few people have asked, do they need to get parent or caregiver permission to teach this program?
So, good question. And I can't specifically address every school out there that, what your rules are and what your board has said. Having said that, we've provided enough materials in the program for you to share with the board and all parent adults what it is that this program is all about. And it's not about sex education. So when we feel that once all the adults in your or all the stakeholders understand what it is that's being taught with the Child Protection Unit, if you do require approval, that approval will be granted. They'll understand that this is something that will protect my kids, and that's generally how it is received out there.
And we do have, as Neil mentioned, those family letters and welcome letters, and in those letters it does address the curriculum, and it does allow parents or caregivers to sign and opt out for all of our programs across the board if that is what they want as well.
Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah. Someone mentioned, is it possible to include social media in the child protection, seeing that kids are online all of the time?
Social media. So although we don't directly address social media in the Child Protection Unit, within our core second step program, we do address social media, and we do address bullying, and we do address other things. Also within the our Child Protection Unit remote guide, we do have some recommendations on because teaching the Child Protection Unit remotely is inherently difficult. You can't necessarily see who's off camera. You can't necessarily know who's guiding, listening, that sort of thing. There's some advice in there on how to conduct those lessons. So the answer is no, we don't necessarily address directly social media. If the kids are getting onto sites, we hope that the parents are monitoring that. We hope. I mean, these are younger kids, so I would hope so. But you're going to need some additional vigilance there as an educator and as a parent.
So Chiara, sorry if that is not the right pronunciation, she asked, do you have a program that's geared more towards preschool age kids, more the 2 to 4 year olds?
So we don't necessarily address the 2 and 3 year olds, although some of the programs do use it that way. It really starts at about age 4. Having said that, are there concepts in here that you can preview and check for the ability or the aptness for your kids? Yeah, but not specifically for 2 and 3 year olds. No. Jackie, do you have anything else that you want to share on that?
No, perfect.
Okay.
I think those are most of the questions. We'll give folks a few more minutes. I did want to share where people are from today. We had Chicago, Connecticut, New York, Sweden, Saudi Arabia, my home state, New Jersey, Washington, Michigan were just a few of them.
Wow. International in scope and quite a ways away from my Seattle here. So, welcome. And I'm glad you're all taking an interest in this. And I'm hoping that you're here as an informational, gathering session, and not because you've had a tragic event at your school. So often people come to us when something has gone wrong. And I would rather you be visiting us today and hearing what we've got to do so that you can prepare your team to avoid that kind of an outcome.
Nicely said, Neil. We have Wisconsin. Also, a few folks were asking if they are allowed to share this, perhaps with a boss or a manager. And yes, fully share this presentation. You will be receiving a copy of it in an email in just a few short days. And it will have the whole presentation as well as all of the links to all of the resources Neil went over as well. And our support team is always here to help too. So if you have a really specific question that we didn't answer, you can shoot them an email at support@secondstep.org. I think I can, I'll link it in the chat box.
Thanks, Jackie. And a shout out to, I can kind of call myself an honorary cheesehead, because I lived in Racine for a few years and Brookfield for a bunch of years, totaling about 10 years in Wisconsin. So although I wasn't born there, I understand Packers. I understand fish fries on Fridays and
cheese curds.
Community. Yeah, good stuff.
I think we answered all the questions. We'll give folks maybe just another minute or so.
Okay. So while you're looking for that, if you are part of a committee or a task force for district, we're happy to provide a webinar like this one for your group to help you review the program at a time that is convenient for you. Just let us know. Our contact info is on the next slide, so please reach out to us, and our support team will be glad to connect you up with one of us. I work the West Coast, but we have plenty of people who work with me that can do something personal for your team. In addition to that, we have an excellent support team, support@secondstep.org. Even if you are not currently a member of the Committee for Children's Second Step family out there, if you have questions about anything that we've talked about today, send an email or call the 800 number there and talk to our folks. They love talking about social emotional learning and all the modules that we have. They love helping people. They're very giving people. So we really feel good about what we are doing and everything else.
Oh, here's a really good from Russell. He said, great program. This content as a heavy point might be a challenge for staff who have children or who have personally been abused or do not have healthy relationship. Can they buddy up with another teacher or the school mental health provider to present this while they get help for themselves if needed? What
a great idea. I think anytime you can buddy up on a sensitive subject like this, one can be, teaching the lessons while another is, because especially in this remote environment, you can't necessarily watch all the faces on your screen. A lot of the cameras are turned off, but it's great to have a buddy who can look for signs and symptoms of trouble and connection and authentic communication. So in your particular instance, absolutely yes. We have districts and schools throughout the country that do the child protection unit with a counselor, with a psychologist coming into the lessons themselves, and the teacher facilitates those and then builds on the lessons throughout their second step. So great idea. Thank you for asking that question.
And just on top of that, I posted the chat link for our webinars. We have a really great trauma-sensitive practices webinar. And I know in that webinar, there's a ton of resources as well for both educators, adults, and students to help address their own needs.
Anything else, Jackie?
I don't think so. Lots of thank you.
Thank you.
They're shocked by a lot of the statistics and feel as if the program is really important.
Well, thank you. Like I said, we kind of do some research and some work and everything, but it's you, the educators, that put this into action and make a difference with the kids. Like I said at the beginning, I wasn't necessarily always part of the solution. I was always identifying it. I'm so happy to be with Committee for Children and actually helping you with explicit content in helping your kids. So once again, thank you.